is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Welcome. Sorry, you can find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Welcome to Swinging Through Comics. Visit mjmunoz.com/STC for notes and links, and don't forget to subscribe. Like, share, and comment to help me grow. So, I am finally at the point where I am able to talk about Spider-Man Bloodline, number 5, and I gotta say, I don't quite know what to say. So before I really get into it, I'm going to talk about who's responsible for this, and I don't mean that in a negative way, except I kind of do mean that in a negative way. Who is responsible for this book? Because I've had a very complicated relationship with Spider-Man Bloodline, but here we are at issue 5. So the writers are J.J. Abrams and his son, Henry Abrams. The artist is Sarah Pichelli, apparently of Miles Morales fame. You know what? Interesting. Just thinking about Mark Bagley's work on the Ultimate Spider-Man, and Miles Morales comes from the Ultimate Spider-Man universe, and it's interesting that Bagley has this ultra skinny Spider-Man style, and I was a little dumbfounded by how thin most people are in this, except for the guy who looked like Greg Grunberg. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We had Elisabetta D'Amico was the assistant artist, right? Yeah, because David Stewart is the colorist here. And I do like the colors that are used in this book. That's probably the best thing about the book, or the 5 books overall, is the colors were really good. Very, evocative, very something. Very stylish, too. Not necessarily flashy, but like they set the mood and the style and the tone in a really good way. So, that's positive stuff. I don't want to be a negative jerk. So anyway, yeah, like I said, there's some positive stuff. So, the final cover is it's pretty much in the tone of the other covers. So it's just okay. The composition of it is all right. Peter and Benny on the run from the children of Cadaverous, and children of Cadaverous are spooky. Actually, another good thing, like Cadaverous himself, his design is pretty awful, being that he's so gigantic but like malformed, and like the proportions are weird, and the dumb cloak hanging over him reminds me of there was one of the guys in The Force Awakens, one of the aliens, is just like his proportions in his body and stuff, like I always hated. And then there's a big clunky walking droid when they go to Maz Kanata's castle, and it just reminds me of that, and I don't like it. Not necessarily that was all Abrams' influence. That could have been Pichelli saying like, hey, I want to go crazy with this thing and do something, chunk, and that's what we got. I don't know. But it's an okay cover. It's fairly evocative of what happens mostly in this, without spoiling it, I guess. So from that perspective, it doesn't spoil the book, but it gives you an insight into what's going on. I guess that, it's doing its job. So anyway, I don't know. The rest of the issue is kind of weird. So I didn't really enjoy the writing here. This is closing up on things. Benny was trying to he was trying to save Peter, and he immediately gets taken by the, children of Cadaverous or whatever, and Peter's left on the bridge, tied up in the webs of a giant spider minka, and the, other characters are left behind to help him. This I don't know, this story's really weird, because you have, Faye, and she kind of assumes an alter ego. I'm not going to say it's a superhero identity, but in hanging out with Benny, she, kind of gets into the spirit of, fighting against, bad guys or corrupt cops or, whatever it is. And, I'm fine with that in principle. And I don't need, everybody to be super powered in my superhero books, or my, comic books, really. But at least, the main guy should be. And, we get that a little bit with Benny. He is, technically super powered, spider powered, but he I don't know, doesn't really do much with it. He gets bashed around a lot by Minka, and he's fine. I don't know, it's just weird. Like, they use his spider powers, his spider strength, to enable him to, like, get trashed and beat up a lot, and he's seemingly fine. So, if he's fine, if he doesn't feel like he's in danger, should I feel like he's in danger? You know, are there, you know, real stakes there? I don't know. But then, besides that, we've got Riri, Williams, Tony Stark, you know, Faye, and I guess they're the only other supporting people around. So we've got Iron Man, Ironheart, and the Marker, and they're teaming up to help save Peter, I guess, while Benny's been captured, and while they're also trying to go and save Benny from Cadaverous and whatnot. And I don't know, it's weird that this is like a sort of like a team book, even though it's definitely not a team book. It's supposed to be a Spider-Man book, and it's supposed to be this you know, weird Spider-Man father and son book, but it doesn't turn out to be that story either. Like that I guess my expectations have been subverted, because what this story sure looked like it was going to be, it's not that it turns out that it's not. It's just it isn't in the weirdest way possible, I guess you could say. I suppose a big problem for me is that the book and the story seem to suffer from like a lack of focus and a lack of I don't know, like almost like a lack of structure. Like it wasn't Will Belt. It wasn't Will Belt. It wasn't Belt. It wasn't Belt. This story and the comic book overall was not built well. It doesn't seem like there was a lot of planning. Doesn't seem like there was a lot of foresight. Doesn't seem like there was a structure. Doesn't seem like there was a theme. Benny thinks that Peter is a jerk. He's sad that his mother died. Big spoilers, big reveal for this last issue. Turns out that Mary Jane had become a child of Cadaverous. And I had complained to my kids about this. I don't mind, this is going to sound terrible. I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, a woman died in a comic book? Oh, that's terrible. But I just thought, like, man, why did Mary Jane have to die? This stinks. I like Mary Jane. There's no reason for her to have died, really, except to make Peter suffer and to, like, you know, ruin the course of his life or whatever. Maybe the Abrams should talk to Chip Zdarsky about how to make Peter suffer while still letting him have a family. Anyway, but anyway, I was complaining about that with my wife and kids because I couldn't stop. I was so disappointed in this book and, you know, the book overall. And my kids said, like, well, why did Mary Jane have to die? Like, that doesn't, like, what happened? And I said, that's a great question. Turns out she didn't have to die. She had to become a plot device for a twist later on in this, you know, mystery box of a story or whatever. Yeah, that's an insincere, irritating complaint. I don't really mean that. Anyway, I'm not sure exactly what I'm trying to say, other than I just don't think this was, you know, well made, well constructed, planned out, and I kind of think it shows, like, I have no issue with, you know, strong women, and I like the idea of, you know, Mary Jane becoming a spider person too, but, like, just in a different story, and the way it was set up in this, it's like, I don't know, it's almost, this whole thing has felt kind of metatextual, because, you know, you've got Henry Abrams, you've got J.J. Abrams, we've got the, you know, Benny taking over from Peter as his, you know, Spider-Man, but the relationship's kind of strained between them, and who knows what it's actually like, but it just feels like it's all about, you know, legacy and, like, taking over what your dad did, and, like, not understanding your dad and being mad at him and things like that, and it's just, I don't know, it's weird, because then you have this, you know, Deus Ex Mommy thing at the end where everyone's gonna die, but then, because of the key or whatever that was in Peter's blood, because his parents were actually working with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Stark and the villains here, and they created the spider specifically to, I think, be coded to his DNA, and that's what gave him his spider power. It's like such a weird, complicated, strange mess. Like, this almost sounds, I mean, you think about the Clone Saga, though. I was going to say, this almost sounds like the kind of thing that develops in comic books after decades, but this was one story, and I thought, like, hey, surely they're going to make, like, one cohesive, concise, interesting story, but that didn't happen. I don't know, it's just very strange. I'm actually so, I guess, befuddled by this. I don't even know where to go, or, what to complain about, but the idea that, Benny and Mary Jane have to go on without Peter as he, dies sacrificing himself and being a hero and proving to Benny that he was a hero all along, despite the fact that it's probably objectively observable, basically, that Spider-Man was a hero for years and years and years. Although, does he blame Spider-Man for letting Mary Jane die? I don't know that he knows about that, and I'm not going back to read the rest of it. Anyway, this issue was not a recommend. This series is not a recommend. It's a bad series. I'm a little bit sorry that I wasted my time with it, but I wanted to give it a shot, and at some point I committed and dug in and said, I'm going to finish this thing. I think it was the third issue when I realized it was turning south, and then I had to stick with it. Then there were all the delays, and anyway, so I'm disappointed. I don't know what else to say. I should get going, but I just kind of wanted to air some of my thoughts on this thing because it's I don't know, it's a bit of a mess. I have all these random thoughts popping into my head, like I'm into the whole Spider Family thing, even though it's weird, like when Mary Jane becomes Spinneret after the Spider Island thing, and then they have a kid in some offshoot spin-off comic, like the little girl with the red hair and the pigtails and stuff, the Spider Kid, or I can't remember what they call her, but like she's got little armor pads on and stuff, and they do spider things too. Like, that's kind of cool. I kind of like the idea of it. Maybe it feels like The Incredibles. Anyway, I don't know, but which, yes, I know Incredibles are supposed to feel like Fantastic Four, but I probably at this point have spent more hours. No, that's not true. I've only watched the Incredible movies a couple times, but regardless, Fantastic Four have been so diminished, and I've only read a few of their comics, and I really got to know them and think they were cool through, well, that doesn't matter. I'm getting off track talking about this book. So Spider-Man Bloodline is a big disappointment. I'm almost sad they made it because I don't know, it was just like not very good, and I've already talked about why that is. Again, like the art, it's pretty good. There's a lot to enjoy about it, but as much of it's a visual medium, like there were some like hilarious faces, or some interesting like nuanced faces. Like at one point, Ben, MJ and Peter tell Benny that they're proud of him now, and they're, they'll always be proud of him, or they love him, whatever, stuff like that. Like it was a nice parenting moment. It felt touching, and Benny reacted to that in a good way. Like Pichelli did a good job on the faces and whatnot. And she has a range. She can make people look dramatic, or she can make them look, sweet, or like funny and wry. Because like Peter makes some super sarcastic remark to the big spider, Minka spider, I think, and pretty funny. His face was just like, I don't know. It was a good, comedic face or whatever. So like, that's good. The Cadaverous, the children of Cadaverous, that's like probably the best design thing here. Cadaverous himself looks terrible. And Minka Spider was grotesque. So that's good stuff. It's just, it was all, trapped in this, half-baked, weird story that didn't have a theme. And like, I don't even know, like, is this supposed to be... I gotta say, I was super, super irritated by the fact that at the end, Aunt May, one, that the old bird outlives Peter, kind of. I don't mind her living. It's just, I don't know, weird. Like, that lady will not die, but Peter can die a bunch. Okay, whatever. That doesn't make sense to me. I always think of the criticism of One More Day, that Peter, gives up his marriage and like a bunch of his happiness to save his oldest, sickest relative, and that's that's pretty dumb when you put it that way. Anyway, but yeah, the idea that Tony Stark leaves for them, for May and Benny, MJ and Benny after Peter's funeral or wake or whatever at the rebuilt Parker home. I guess it got rebuilt pretty quickly. Anyway, he leaves them spider suits so that they can go on having adventures and being spider people, spider mom and kid together. Like, I don't know, like that feels weird. Like even though it's supposed to be carrying on Peter's legacy, it doesn't feel like it's carrying on Peter's legacy, and it doesn't feel, I don't know, earned or appropriate or whatever. It's all just so slapdash. And it's funny, the ending actually reminds me of MJ passing off a suit to big spoilers for Chip Zdarsky's Spider-Man life story, which you should definitely read. It's way more worth your time. It's a fantastic story. Passing off the stuff to Miles. She passes off the old, I guess it's the old Spider-Man suit, the classic suit, to Miles Morales to carry on after Peter's gone. That felt earned and that felt good, even though I only knew Miles in the pages of that comic for like 6 pages or something like it is not a long time. Maybe it was more than 6 pages, but he is just kind of there as a supporting character, and then his prominence grows throughout the story, and then that turn happens and it feels good, whereas this doesn't. So, and the fact that it comes from Tony Stark too is by way of Aunt May. Just, I don't dig it. I don't dig it at all. Yeah, I'm gonna stop now because otherwise I'll just keep blathering on, and I did not intend for this to go on this long. So, I don't know, folks. Take care until next time, and check out my other stuff. I have other Spider-Man reviews. Like I said, I have this whole Spider-Man life story that I talked about. Got a bunch of Star Wars stuff I've been talking about. Mandalorian, Season 1 and 2. Lots of other things. Tokusatsu, which is like, is it Japanese Power Rangers, I guess is the easiest, quickest way. It's live-action Japanese special effects. There's a Japanese Spider-Man tokusatsu show that I'm going to talk about eventually. It was featured on the Marvel 616 documentary series on Disney Plus, and you should check that out. That's pretty cool stuff. But yeah, for now, I'm going to go, and I'm going to encourage you to be the hero you most needed, or that you needed in your most desperate hour, because that's something the world needs more of. And, don't be like Benny, be like Peter. And MJ, I guess.